If your home has been sitting on the market with little activity, it's not just you, but it can be fixed with certain tactics and certain understandings. I'm going to introduce to you today a couple of ideas that I'm using working on my listing, some small tweaks that I've made that have taken a home that's been on the market for 70 days with very few showings to getting it under contract for $5,000 under asking price in just a short amount of time. So we're going to dive into all of that and more, what I'm doing, and let you know as a seller or potential seller what you need to know about this market in order to stay on top of the game. If you don't know, I'm Jeremy Kane. I have helped hundreds of people buy and sell real estate in Denver metro area and northern Colorado, and I've helped people just like you understand exactly what it takes to sell a house, the strategy behind it, and I know the market in depthly because I can bring it to you and help you understand exactly what the situation is so that we are not sitting on the market for 90 plus days and wondering why and constantly only having conversations about price drops. So if that's you or you're fearful of getting into the market and you have a sale coming up, I would love to talk with you and help you just like I've helped hundreds of other people. So we can jam out about that anytime, but let's get right into it. So if you haven't noticed, the market has shifted. We are not fully in a buyer's market, but it certainly feels like it compared to what we've been in the last, the last year it's been shifting a little bit, but previously 4, 5, 7, 10 years before that, the seller really has had the upper hand. And the seller still kind of holds the keys because when the market shifts, the sellers are the last ones to know. And that statement holds true as they're not necessarily the last ones to know, but they're the last ones to be like, okay, we got to make these changes. And so as an agent who is very much market focused, I understand that the market has changed a little bit. We can't just price a home, based on what the highest in the neighborhood was last month and expect for it to go $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 over asking. And there are certain strategies and there are some agents taking advantage of that low ball offer price. However, sometimes in this market, that's not a great move because if you go there, it doesn't get the traction, then you're kind of stuck at that low ball price and it's kind of a problem. So why the homes sit? It certainly isn't always priced right now. And I'm, talking to agents, I'm speaking at events, talking about we can't be in this race to the bottom. We have to understand the market dynamics, how many showings per listing, how many showings to contract per week, per month, because this is super important to understand that it might not be the price. As in years past, if you weren't under contract first weekend with multiple offers, it definitely was the price. In this market, it's not. However, agents are kind of trained that way. So if you're not under contract in the first weekend or the second weekend, they're like, okay, we need a price reduction. You may, and I'm not here to say you don't, but if you're a seller in that position, ask for some data, talk about the data, and look at it, right? Because what I'm seeing is holding on to price, right? Holding on to that list price and starting to market the property in different ways, maybe on a delayed time release, which I've talked about on this channel before. You have the opportunity to get in front of the new buyers, get in front of new eyes, and actually market the property to its fullest. Because if you've had no showings, maybe it's a picture issue, maybe it's something else. It could be a price issue, right? I have a listing that was higher priced because it's the biggest house, so our price per square footage was in line, but our total price was a little bit out of line because there hadn't been a home that's sold within 500, 600 square feet of that one in the neighborhood for 6 months. And so that's when we really have to get creative and you have to understand what these statistics mean and how they work. So sometimes it's not always that. With that said, I will tell you that the homes that are moving quickly, there are some. Our market has heated up, so to speak, in some instances, but it's a select handful of homes that are going right away. And these are the homes that are marketed properly, but also staged, ready to go, turnkey, so to speak, right? No one wants to move into a house with a $6,000 payment that they have to paint or whatever, right? Something that I'm doing actively with my sellers, and if you are one of those people, we'll have this same conversation when we're talking about selling your home. Just book a call with me. That's all you need to do. But what we'll talk about is what the payment for the most likely buyer would be for your home, right? If you're in a 3-2 home, 3-bed, 2-bath kind of starter home, maybe it was your starter home, maybe it was your downsized home, whatever, there's a certain number of people that will be interested in that will have lower down payments. If you're in a 4,000 square foot home, maybe that's a move-up home, depending on your market and all the things. But the move-up home, the buyer's likely to have 20% down, and so we look at that. And no matter what it is, if it's a move-up home, a first-time home, downsized home, whatever, when I show the sellers what the potential buyer is going to pay for their home, it's kind of a shock, right? Because either you've been in the low interest rate market for a long time, or you bought a long time ago, maybe you didn't, maybe you bought 2 years ago. Even still, with the interest rates and the appreciation that we've seen, at a smaller scale, it's still something to consider when we're talking about that. So huge talking point there. And so what we need to do is understand the average days on market, right? We're 30 to 40 days on market right now on average, and create a delayed marketing strategy. Because in the past, agents would just shove all of their marketing to the forefront. We got to get the video, we got to get the flyers, we got to have the open house, we got to do all this so that we can get that marketing out and do our due diligence and, certainly get multiple offers and raise the price and all the things. I'm not saying those things aren't necessary, but we don't necessarily have to have them all out on day one. And because we likely will be on the market for the average days on market. And so if we plan to say, okay, we're going to do the full length video on week 1, we're going to do the flyers, we're going to have the open house, sign in the yard, all the things. But then on week 2, we're going to do some short form. We're going to hit that side of it. For week 3, maybe we'll have a broker open where they come in and, do some content to get it out to their audience. For week 4, maybe we're going to do some community highlights and more lifestyle pieces. Maybe there's an excellent backyard. Certainly it can be talked about in week 2 and so on. But if we're in these scenarios and we have this delayed kind of marketing piece, then you can have more eyes on your property, more things happening. And as we go, we can start to look at the analytics and give the market a chance to catch up. And then certainly there's always going to be a time where, okay, maybe it is the price, let's look at it. But if it comes from a data perspective and you've had multiple people in the property and eyes on the property, it could be huge. I recently joined in a partnership with Homes.com on my end that in the first week I had 2 showings on a property that was pretty stale, and I had 1 showing and a contract on a property that had been on for 70 days for almost full price. What Homes.com does is it takes, it puts the members' listings at the top of the page, and it also retargets those people throughout the internet. If they look through that home and they see it, then they're going to see your home again on CNN or ESPN and all the things. And for the cost, it's extremely usable. It may just be a coincidence, but that first week I was in there, it absolutely blew up. Got one of those houses off the market, and another one, got some people through and some showings. So certainly something to think about is how are we being more creative? How are we getting to more people? Right? I'm a great social media person, as I say so myself, but when I'm able to partner with a company like Homes.com that's not only driving billions of dollars of advertising to get the consumer on their site, but also has the back end for people's listings that is going to retarget and do this at a higher level, right? I'm a great real estate agent. I'm not an SEO expert. I'm not a retargeting expert. So this was something that absolutely I added to my tool belt to help people get these listings in front of as many eyes as possible. And so that's absolutely huge. If you're interested in learning more about how we can make a custom marketing plan for your property, let's have a conversation. The strategy is not just about, turning it over as quickly as possible and selling it for what we can. We want to get you top dollar. We want to have the experience perfect for you as the seller. And just because the market shifted doesn't mean that that's not an opportunity to showcase your property at extremely high levels and get it in front of as many people as possible. And so I want you to know, here we are, the market's changed, we're on top of it here, and we're absolutely in it to win it for you. We want to make sure those partnerships and relationships happen over the long term, because the worst thing to see is one of your buddies listing their house with somebody else and it sits on the market, and it seems like they're pushing it and their family members are sharing it and all the things. We want to make sure that as an agent, you're paying us good money, and we want to make sure it's marketed properly and you're going to get top dollar and it doesn't turn into a price decrease to the bottom. So If you have any questions or you want to chat, like I said, I've helped many people build these strategies out and optimize exactly what we need to do for your experience to make it as good as it can be. We're going to get you to where you need to go. We're going to get you to that destination. We're going to work as hard as we can to get you the most for your home. So book a call with me, send me a DM, and we'll chat soon. Bye-bye.